So what I call America's Cop, I have this thing when I work with clients to come up not with their mission, vision, or values, because most companies, if you ask them, what is your mission, they don't remember. What is your vision, they're not that sure. And what are your values? Well, I'll get the document. So what you really need is a COP, a central operating premise. Coca-Cola's central operating premise, for example, for 46 years has been not what you heard publicly. It's not about the real thing. It's not the great taste. The central operating premise of the Coca-Cola company since 1946 has been put a Coke within an arm's length of everyone on the planet. So the business of Coca-Cola is distribution, distribution, distribution. Central operating premises are like a nutshell, in a nutshell, the absolute statement of who you are and what we are. I believe that this is the central operating premise of America. Participate in and contribute to each other's initiative. There's a commonality there. We don't have to love each other. We have to participate. It's not about the government. It's not about doing things that we all ultimately really believe in. It's about getting along and making sure that everybody has the best shot at what they do and what they want. Okay, the last thing I want to leave you with is a 12-point plan to go ahead for America. Now, as I said, my view of America is a little different because, first of all, it's a little more global, and secondly, it's a little bit more professional, and thirdly is I'm concerned about America because one of the things that we need to do is not come up with programs, but remind us of who we are and how we got here, with the key being who we are. The future of America really depends on how we remember who we fundamentally and genetically are. And I've got some suggestions. And here they are. Okay? First and foremost, here's a fourth one. Only accept the word unprecedented if it is documented to be so for 250 years at least. We use the word unprecedented all the time. Well, the truth is, nothing that we're facing today is unprecedented. Absolutely nothing. Let me tell you about a chief executive officer of a country. Comes into office, almost a god, a hero, the savior. 2 years later, he's in trouble with his legislator. Country's deeper in debt than it ever was, more dependent on foreign resources than ever before. Entitlements are running out of control. Credit is incredibly high. Oh, I'm sorry, I wandered there for a second. That's Julius Caesar. We should talk about him another time. Okay, nothing is unprecedented. We've been there before, we just forgot. So we need to remember. Next point. I would really love for us to go back to clarify the national discourse by rescinding political correctitude. It's hard to have a conversation with somebody when both of you are winking about a word and presuming you understand it. It would be really nice if we went back to plain speaking, literally saying what we mean and meaning what we say. Because it's really, really difficult to have a meaningful conversation when two people are using different lexicons to understand the same thing. We need to worry about a lexicon. You know, I have this whole structure for some of my clients. If you don't understand the lexicon in which your customer is hearing what you say, you're not really communicating. So we need to clear the decks, talk to each other honestly and forthrightly. It's very important that from now on we think harder and harder about qualifying a position we hear. The interesting thing about the internet is that people become instant authorities without anybody really understanding. So we have people making pronouncements who have no business making pronouncements, or at the very least, they ought to footnote it. There's a, did you ever see a thing called the Blue Collar Comedy Tour? There's a comedian named Bill Engvall, and he says basically it would be a lot easier to deal with people if they would just tell you up front that they're stupid. Just, please, you know. So in the same vein, if you have an idea where somebody is coming from before you listen to what they say, it just makes a whole lot difference in understanding. So get qualifications from people. Next thing. Reward candor. You know, one of the interesting things about America is we all assume we have to have the answer. We are required to have the answer. And that's one of the reasons politicians do what they do, is because they don't have the answer. They can't say to you, I don't know. But I promise you I'll find out and I'll get back to you tomorrow. What an interesting statement that would be. I do not know, I will find the answer, and here's the timetable on which I will deliver it. You know, Alexis de Tocqueville that I spoke of earlier, he's an interesting point of view on politicians. He had two things to say about them. The first one was, America will remain a democracy only for so long, only until Politicians figure out how to bribe the people with their own money.